I cannot understate the amount of evil that this is. This is about kids. Like, they're terrorizing children. They're forcing children to be scared over bomb threats. Like, imagine just being some random cis kid in like a fucking cancer ward in a children's hospital, and then the bomb threat comes in. You have to get out of the hospital. All of it is because people hate trans people so much that they're willing to strike terror just to send a message. I want to talk about libs of TikTok, because now that Kiwi Farms is gone, I want to move on to the next thing that I'm planning on working on. But before I do that, I want to brief everyone on all of it. So what I wanted to talk about is the unholy alliance between Matt Walsh, Kaya Rychik, who runs the account Libs of TikTok, and Tucker Carlson. All three of them have been using their platforms to make false claims about Boston Children's Hospital, as well as other hospitals that provide gender-affirming care for trans adolescents. And it's really dangerous, really fucking dangerous what they're doing. Because what they're doing is making claims that they're performing genital surgeries on minors when they are not doing so. They're putting the names of doctors up on the screen on Tucker Carlson's show. They're broadcasting the names and the hospitals. There are constant bomb threats coming in. It's a really big issue. I think that before even like delving into it, we really need to go and just go over the timeline of all of the things that they're doing. It's not just Boston Children's Hospital. In August, Libs of TikTok and Matt Walsh went after Laurie's Children's Hospital in Chicago. Today, families were notified that a support group for trans youth canceled due to threats and harassment. So we have Libs of TikTok talking about providing puberty blockers for kids. And then we have Matt Walsh saying that they're admitting they're running medical experiments on children. And one of the craziest things, puberty blockers, that's not new. That goes back to the 70s. This is not a new thing by any stretch. But the framing of doing it like this is to incite terrorism. That's what they want to happen. And that's what is happening. My apologies for this cancellation. The safety and well-being of our patients, their families, and staff are our top priority. Out of an abundance of caution, we have decided to cancel this month's group. Unfortunately, our division of adolescent medicine, gender program, and sex education providers have been the target of recent harassment. So they've tried. Republicans, with the backing of people like Tucker Carlson, Matt Walsh, Libs of TikTok, other various right-wing extremists, have tried in every single state they can, pushing and prodding and nudging to get it illegal to provide gender-affirming care to youth. And they always fail. Like, even in the states where it goes through, it usually ends up making it to court and then getting thrown out because it's unconstitutional. You can't legally do that. You cannot push through a law to make it illegal for someone to receive medically necessary care, at least not in the US. So in August, all three of them went after Boston Children's Hospital with lies about the types of care they provide. And Libs of TikTok used an informational video about hysterectomies to lie and say that Boston Children's Hospital provided hysterectomies to young girls.
Gender-affirming hysterectomy is very similar to most hysterectomies that occur. A hysterectomy itself is the removal of the uterus, the cervix, which is the opening of the uterus, and the fallopian tubes, which are attached to the sides of the uterus. Some gender-affirming hysterectomies will also include the removal of the ovaries, but that's technically a separate procedure called a bilateral oophorectomy. And not every gender-affirming hysterectomy includes that, and people who are getting gender-affirming hysterectomies do not have to have their ovaries removed.
The video doesn't even mention age. That's crazy. So they took this as they're providing hysterectomies to minors when the video doesn't mention age whatsoever. It says children. It says children, so they think it's for children. Oh my God. That's insane. That's a problem with a lot of this stuff. It's so easy to lie about it. And it takes significantly more effort to debunk the lies. So the thing with the video is that Boston Children's Hospital had already confirmed they do not perform hysterectomies on people under the age of 18. And I can find the statement in response to commentary last week critical of our gender multi-specialty service program. Boston Children's Hospital has been the target of a large volume of hostile internet activity, phone calls, and harassing emails, including threats of violence towards our clinicians and staff. We are deeply concerned by these attacks on our clinicians and staff fueled by misinformation and a lack of understanding and respect for our transgender community. The article and the online attention that followed was based on the incorrect statement. Boston Children's performed hysterectomies on minors in connection with transgender care. For hysterectomy performed as part of gender-affirming care, Boston Children requires a patient to be capable of consenting for themselves. Age 18 is used to reflect the standard of age of majority for medical decision-making. Boston Children's does not and will not perform a hysterectomy as part of gender-affirming care on a patient under the age of 18. So the rest of it is just condemning the attacks because they've been under intense scrutiny. They've had bomb threats, patients have been threatened, doctors have been threatened. All their phone lines and their emails are getting fucking jammed with death threats. It's insane. The fact of it is they went hard at Boston Children's. Like, look at this. These are all different tweets that Libs of TikTok has made or retweeted about Boston Children's. Just like fucking crazy. It was a targeted attack. It used a lot of really big media connections, like with Tucker Carlson. The Libs of TikTok account has something like 2 million followers at this point and is supported by the mainstream Republican establishment. And Twitter does nothing. Twitter admits that Libs of TikTok breaks its TOS on hateful conduct, yet refuses to do anything about them in their terror campaign. It's really fucked because if you have enough clout, if you have enough connections, if you have enough money, the rules apply differently to you. And so they can get away with so much more than they should be able to. They're criminals. Absolutely fucking criminal. But Tucker Carlson has played a huge part as well. He's been priming his audience for this for months. Like, look at this. It's scripted. Like, you can tell right away that this is incredibly planned by the way that the same phrases come up again and again. Like, they've had this planned out and the talking points that they were going to use in order to prime their audience to commit these terror attacks, like bomb threats against the hospital, sending death threats to doctors. This simply shouldn't be acceptable. But one of the largest media figures in the country is just gleefully letting it happen and encouraging it.
So, to be clear, Boston Children's Hospital is not ashamed of committing sexual mutilation of children. Gender-affirming care is a euphemism for chemical castration. What is gender-affirming care? Well, it's castrating children. It's exactly what it is. The sterilization and castration of children. No one should put up with this. No parent should put up with this for 1 second, no matter what the law says. Your duty, your moral duty, is to defend your children. This is an attack on your children, and you should fight back.
So you can see what they're doing, right? They're trying to use the most repugnant language possible to describe gender-affirming care. They talk about hormone replacement therapy as chemical castration. They talk about gender-affirming surgeries as mutilation. They want to conjure in the viewer's mind as much as possible how sick and disgusting trans people are and how the children going there aren't trans, but they're being made into trans people. They're being butchered, essentially, is what Tucker is trying to portray to his audience is what is happening. Yeah, it's genocidal rhetoric, absolutely. It's textbook dehumanization, what is going on. Not only Libs of TikTok, but going back to Matt Walsh, he's also done his fair share with Daily Wire lying about Boston Children's Hospital. It's incredibly fucking dangerous that he's doing this, especially because Daily Wire has so many like QAnon rattled people who watch it, who follow it, who support it. And I mean, so does Fox News for that matter. I think, and it's pretty obvious, that they know. They absolutely know what they're doing.
Matt Walsh Show. Children's hospitals around the country are butchering, mutilating, and sterilizing their young patients. So according to Boston Children's Hospital, literally every toddler who has ever been born or will ever be born is trans.
Just no fucking citations. Just insane shit. And the audience who watches this, they're just going to eat this up with a spoon.
And put them all on a path to sterilization and butchery before they can even talk? Well, that's because that's exactly what these monsters are doing. And they've done it up until this moment without much resistance from the public.
Like there, you see it again, right? The way that they frame the doctors involved in this as butchers who are turning the kids trans. Like, you cannot be trans, you are made trans in the eyes of this. And being trans, and in Matt Walsh's own words, is a social contagion. It's a disease. The way that they view trans people is similar to the way that people view plague rats.
We have to stop making it so easy on them. And that's why I'm in the very early stages of trying to organize a national coordinated effort to fight back against this evil. You know, it's really just a matter of where do we begin? Maybe we begin at Boston Children's Hospital.
Boston Children's Hospital says its staff is being threatened and harassed now after far-right activists on social media posted misinformation, claiming they perform gender-affirming hysterectomy procedures on young girls. The hospital says it's not true. They do not perform those procedures.
Authorities said they responded to Boston Children's Hospital on Tuesday night over a bomb threat. There has been an increase in threats of violence against the hospital over its surgical program for transgender youths.
One of the most dangerous things about this is that unless it's stopped, it's going to continuously escalate until people get killed. It's only a matter of time until people get riled up enough that that is what is going to happen. No, I mean, Matt Walsh has been on this trajectory for a while. It's just that the bomb threats and specifically targeting hospitals is new. That's not something that was happening before, but this is now what is happening and how things have escalated. On that topic, this has escalated to the point where far-right extremists are now threatening to execute doctors at a children's hospital. Boston Children's Hospital said on Tuesday that its staff has faced a flood of violent threats and harassment sparked by a false claim made by the viral Libs of TikTok account. That account, Brooklyn real estate agent Kaya Rychik, tweeted on August 11th that Boston Children's Hospital is now offering gender-affirming care. And we all knew that this stuff happened already, but it's getting so much worse. The hospital is not specifying where the threats are coming from, but Vice has uncovered some violent threats posted on far-right and extremist platforms targeting the doctors. In some of the Telegram groups, they're saying things like, demons like this do not deserve to breathe. Crimes against humanity equals death. These people are psychopaths and should be locked up. The hospital staff are being referred to as pedophiles and groomers, which has become basically mainstay. If you support trans people in any way, especially young trans people, you're going to get called a pedophile and a groomer, and you're going to be told that you don't deserve to live. We're already seeing the start of this, and we're seeing the escalation. Like, this is something that happened just last month. What we know so far about tonight's soft lockdown Boston Children's Hospital.
Ton of kids coming in that are sick here trying to get to the hospital.
I'm afraid to leave. I don't know what's going on, and I have a child that's in the NICU.
I cannot understate the amount of evil that this is. Imagine, and not even the trans kids involved in this story, but just the kids in general. Like, imagine just being some random cis kid in like a fucking cancer ward in a children's hospital, and then the bomb threat comes in, the fucking alarms are going off, you have to get out of the hospital, and all of it is because people hate trans people so much that they're willing to strike terror into hundreds and potentially thousands of people just to send a message. This is about kids. Like, they're terrorizing children. They're forcing children to be scared over bomb threats. They say they want to protect children, that they're so concerned about children, but they're willing to do this to kids who have nothing to do with this sick ideological game that they're playing.
I'm just really scared, and I don't know what's going on.
The soft lockdown lasted about 90 minutes before parents were allowed in. The bomb threat follows a series of other threats made to the Children's Hospital 2 weeks ago, spurred by social media posts spreading misinformation, claiming the doctors were performing hysterectomies on children, a claim the hospital has repeatedly denied.
It just makes me sick. It makes me so fucking sick looking at this stuff. I just can't believe that they would be willing to go to this length. How fucking soulless you have to be in order to terrorize children, in order to get people to submit to your ideological demands. This is the kind of shit that I would expect from fucking ISIS, not the audience of Tucker Carlson and Matt Walsh and Libs of TikTok. This is fucked up and this has gone too far. The impact that this has is terrifying. Like, it discourages hospitals from providing care, and it discourages people from going to receive care. It scares people from being openly trans. That's the impact of these threats. One casualty of Libs of TikTok and Matt Walsh's war on gender-affirming care. A powerful testimonial from a trans teenager. If you're transgender, show it, she said in a now-deleted article from Akron's Children. It will help other transgender people feel not so alone. This is the thing. They are forcing people who are proud of themselves, who have fought and overcome a lot of adversity, to be where they are, to hide. Like, Libs of TikTok put a 13-year-old girl on blast because she said that with the help of providers at Akron Children's, she was able to become her true self. She's a cheerleader. She rides horses. She says that she didn't want to develop facial hair or for her voice to deepen. This is a story familiar to many trans people, and it's true. It is. But for Kaya Rychik, the evil woman who runs Libs of TikTok, this is a horror story. And with her 1.3 million followers, she flooded the article with hate, misgendering the trans girl, calling her Buffalo Bill in the making. She led 1.3 million people to harass a 13-year-old girl. And now the article is deleted because this is the thing that happens. This is what conservatives are doing. They don't want trans people to exist in public. With this girl who she said she knew from the age of 3, and with the help of the hospital was able to be her true self. Now she's afraid because there are fucking monsters out there who have millions of dollars to shift around, have these massive media platforms that are all connected to each other, and they're willing to use them to terrorize anyone, regardless of who they are, regardless if they're literally children, to get their way. The cool thing too, by cool, I just mean typical. Christopher Rufo, his reporting claimed that the bomb threat to Boston Children's Hospital had been fabricated. Today, none of them have amplified this confession that his reporting was false. Before the hospital verified it, Libs of TikTok, Matt Walsh, and Jamie Michelle were boosting this. Gays Against Groomers, which, by the way, to the Keffal Cord people, thank you so much for helping us get their Trans Against Groomers account banned. That was really fucking funny. We took on Kiwi Farms and we won, and that was our training ground. That's where we showed the world the strength of our community. Before Christopher Rufo said, okay, there was an arrest made, this is confirmed by the FBI, they were literally blaming Taylor Lorenz, saying that the bomb scares were part of a media campaign that she had created. Matt Walsh saying, I was immediately skeptical about the bomb threat claim. No critic of gender ideology gains anything or has any incentive to make a threat. But they're saying the left does. They're basically trying to blame the very people they're terrorizing. So here was Matt Walsh talking about the bomb threat against Boston Children's Hospital.
So I feel perfectly free offering speculations. I'd like to have something better than speculation, but they won't tell us. And so my speculation, my theory of the case, is that this was not a conservative or a critic of gender ideology who called it a threat to Boston Children's. That wouldn't even make any sense. Someone who is actually a critic of what Boston Children's is doing.
This is bullshit. Remember, it wasn't the communists who started the Reichstag fire. It was the fucking Nazis so they could blame the communists. This is a classic right-wing tactic. Commit the act of terror, then blame your opposition for it, and then use that in order to mobilize further. It's just all bullshit. Like, the twist is impressive, but it's pretty easy to manipulate his audience. Let's go to September now. So the FBI special agent in charge of investigating the threats to Boston Children's Hospital for providing gender-affirming care. There's been well over a dozen distinct threats. And as I said before, we treat those as a top priority and we will run and vet every one of them down.
As far as the other threats, that there have been well over a dozen, distinct threats. And as I said before, we treat those as a top priority, and we will run and vet every one of them down, and there could very well be other ongoing and active investigations.
Oh, here's the FBI transcript of the threats. August 30th, 2022, Boston Children's Hospital received a telephonic bomb threat at approximately 7:45 p.m. BCH Systems recorded the call and provided to law enforcement. Based on call details recorded by BCH, the call was received from the phone number Target Telephone. The entirety of the call is transcribed below. Boston Children's Hospital, this is name, how may I help you? There is a bomb on the way to the hospital. You better evacuate everybody, you sickos. As a result of the call, Boston Children's Hospital and the surrounding area was placed in lockdown status, and a bomb squad was dispatched to BCH. After conducting an investigation, there were no explosive devices located at BCH. They did catch the woman who sent a bomb threat to Boston Children's Hospital, and her name was Catherine Levy. And it's been found out they have made over 200 political donations to Donald Trump. This is just the Federal Election Commission individual contributions page. Sounds like a leftist, right? Maybe Matt Walsh was onto something. Those gosh darn left-wingers always supporting Donald Trump and making sure they give lots of political donations. Going back to the hospital where libs of TikTok terrorized a 13-year-old girl. Just 4 days after the FBI arrested a woman for threatening to bomb Boston Children's Hospital, libs of TikTok is whipping up her followers with the lie that Akron Children's Hospital is giving estrogen to 7-year-olds. Despite it intuitively making zero sense to anyone who's ever heard of puberty, the idea of cross-sex hormones being given to near toddlers is thoroughly entrenched amongst anti-trans obsessives. Here's Elon Musk suggesting that a 4-year-old is getting hormone therapy. Kaya has developed a clear playbook. She seizes on information about gender-affirming care intended for trans patients. The hospital removes it to prevent death threats against their doctors. Trans patients are left unable to find public information on where to receive care. Libs of TikTok does this because Kaya demonstrably does not believe that trans people deserve to exist. A patient knowing she was trans since 3 and accessing care before puberty is the best case scenario clinically. Kaya would rather force her back into the closet, which is what she was able to do. Libs of TikTok focuses on 2 types of trans people. Trans people trying to access care before going through puberty, and visibly trans people with public-facing jobs. If neither of those options are acceptable to you, you do not believe that trans people deserve to live. It just keeps going, and it keeps intensifying. And they've been able to get away with this, and they're continuing to do it. So after Akron, and this was only last week, like 6 days ago, Matt Walsh and Lott and Tucker decided to set their sights on Vanderbilt Medical Center. Breaking. My team and I have been investigating the transgender clinic at Vanderbilt here in Nashville. Vanderbilt drugs, chemically castrates, and performs double mastectomies on minors. But it gets worse. Here's what we found. Let's start at the beginning. Vanderbilt opened its trans clinic in 2018 during a lecture the same year. Dr. Shane Taylor explained how she convinced Nashville to get into the gender transition game. She emphasized that it's a big money maker, especially because the surgeries require a lot of follow-ups. Jesus Christ. The idea that there's a big trans lobby is fucking ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Trying to take like the big pharma rhetoric and then make a big trans rhetoric, it's crazy. Yeah, same as global homo. It's like, it's basically Jewish question shit. Here's the thing that's frustrating, and I'm sure Matt Walsh is smart enough to know this. Especially in a private healthcare system, of course you're going to pitch starting a medical clinic by how much money you can make from doing it. Because it's not based on what's best for the people, it's based on what's best for the wallet. Vanderbilt was apparently concerned that not all of its staff would be on board. Dr. Ellen Clayton warned that conscientious objections are problematic. Anyone who decides not to be involved in transition surgeries due to religious beliefs will face consequences. In case the objectors hadn't gotten the memo, Vanderbilt unveiled a program called Trans Buddies. The buddies are trans activists from the community who attend appointments with trans patients, monitoring the doctors to guard against unsafe behavior such as misgendering. Vanderbilt makes their trans buddies available to children too. They make lots of services available to... Actually, that was something I used to do back in the day, and like other activists in my hometown used to do. Like we would go to like the first hormone appointment with trans people so they would be more comfortable, because it's such a nerve-wracking thing to do. They must have forgotten to delete a video from Vanderbilt's psychiatry YouTube channel back in 2020, which admits explicitly that they will give and have given irreversible hormone drugs to children as young as 13. It's just like the language is pissing me off. Saying that it's sterilizing kids. Yeah, it's fascist. It is fascist propaganda. But the sheer scope of this is terrifying. So this is Matt Walsh talking to Tucker Carlson about Vanderbilt's transgender clinic.
Have you spoken to anyone at Vanderbilt Hospital about this directly?
Well, Vanderbilt Hospital, I mean, we reached out for a statement when we first published the report, and at first they didn't want to give a statement, and they actually just took down, as you mentioned, they just deleted. That's what people have to understand. They deleted their entire transgender clinic website. They wiped it from existence. And then today, not to us, but in general, they released a statement. And the interesting thing about the statement they released is that they do not, while they start by claiming there's misinformation and so on, They don't actually factually dispute anything in my report because they can't, because everything that I said wasn't me saying it. I was just providing video evidence, much of which you played there. Well, we know for a fact, this is an absolute fact, that Vanderbilt, they performed double mastectomies on minor girls, on children. They chemically castrate children, and they give them irreversible hormone drugs that change their bodies permanently. They're doing all of that to kids. And the other thing we should note, and I'm glad you mentioned all the other hospitals around the country, because the things I just mentioned, that's happening all across the country, in every single state, in many hospitals and in many other medical clinics. All of those things are happening. And one of the reasons why it's allowed to keep happening is because people don't know about it, because they're not talking about it. And I think for a lot of average
He's just so,
Americans,
it's just like a fucking liar. He's such a fucking liar.
People just walking down the street, it's sort of unthinkable. They can't imagine that this sort of thing is actually happening, but it is, which is why we have to start by raising awareness about it. And we have to do that no matter the game the left plays, by saying if you so much as mention what they're doing, it's incitement and terrorism, which is absurd. But we can't bend to that tactic. We have to keep shining a light on this.
Cutting the breasts off little girls? Sterilizing 14-year-olds? Like, yeah, okay. Yeah, we're not the criminals here.
It's just so fucked. Like, they know what they're doing. They all know, both of them know what they're doing. I just can't believe, like, the audacity to go ahead with this with such a large platform, to lie about this.
Vanderbilt Medical Center is a bad person. I've got to believe a lot of these people had no idea this was happening. And I hope they know now, and I hope they do something tonight to end it. I appreciate your coming on and for all you've done on this. Matt Walsh, thank you.
Thank you.
Knew this tactic would work? Yeah. And it's so fucked that it does work. That's part of what I want to do, like why I want to move forward with this stuff. Because we got rid of kiwi farms. Good for us. Pat ourselves on the back, but let's be real. Kiwi farms was an easy target. No one likes Joshua Moon. It was easy to go after him. But to go after some of the actors who do irreparably more harm to the community and have so many more resources, that is an incredibly scary uphill battle. But if we want to protect the community, it's something that we need to do. Don't know if I saw this. Here's an example of protesters at the hospital right now. Let me take a look. Dad, now a human male who protects his kids from gender ideology. Children cannot consent to puberty blockers. It's so fucking frustrating. It's such an uphill battle to deal with this, but I think a good first step is obviously laying it all out so everyone can see it. We need people to know about this shit, and we need to actually mount a defense. We need to protect the kids who are being terrorized. We need to protect the doctors who are being terrorized. Kiwi Farms was dangerous, but they had nowhere near the public backing or money that these evil, evil people have. This is institutional. Yeah, no, this has institutional backing. It's important to cover this stuff, even though it's hard to cover this stuff. But going forward, I'm going to be covering this a lot more because it's important to. Because it's such a huge threat. What they're doing to the community is terrifying, because if they work this as a model, imagine what they can do. Like, they're targeting a hospital that has an entire security team and a legal team and already has security in place. What if they target just like trans resource centers? Can you imagine if libs of TikTok went after like a rinky-dink trans resource center that barely has even a shoestring budget? They're doing it with mermaids in the UK. Jesus Christ. LGBT centers here in Florida are being violently attacked. Oh my God. They all share the same talking points. Do they just stochastically organize, or are there loose associations between stuff like Telegram? Yeah, the talking points come down and they all share the same talking points. Like, it's strategizing, right? Back to Matt Walsh. Major update. I met with Tennessee Rep. William Lamberth and Senator Jack Johnson. We are working on a bill to shut down Vanderbilt's children gender transition program and ban the practice in the state. Tennesseans do not want this barbarism in our state. We will put a stop to it. Good fucking luck. It is Goebbels levels of lying. I'm sure at some point Matt Walsh has taken a few notes from Mein Kampf. Even fucking Ron Paul. Jesus fucking Christ, Ron Paul. The Ron Paul Liberty Report.
Yeah, I think it's really important that you do make the connection between this and COVID, because
what?
She's bragging, hey, we're going to make $40K on each one of these surgeries. Just a top
Did he just compare fucking trans kids to COVID? Jesus Christ. Bro, what? Like, this, shut the fuck. All right, fuck this. I'm done with fuck you, Ron Paul. I can't even. It's too dumb. I can't do it. All right, back on to non-Ron Paul related shit. Within the past few hours after Matt Walsh's attack on Vanderbilt and Tucker Carlson's coverage, users of 4chan and the Donald are calling for the outright murder of doctors. This is exactly what they want. Kill all every one of these degenerates that dare harm children. Of course you're an anime avatar with giant boobs. The doctors that perform these surgeries should have their families slaughtered while they're forced to watch. Not that I condone that type of thing, but it would send a hell of a message. I fucking hate these vermin. They're progressive supporters. 40 years ago, our parents and grandparents would have been rioting in the streets and stringing these doctors and their supporters up on trees and light poles. Pendulum is swinging. User the Donald wants to do Nazi-style book burnings at Vanderbilt. In 1933, the first Nazi book burning started with Magnus Hirschfeld's Institute for Sexuality. A trans woman was murdered by the Nazis as they stormed the institute to pull books to burn. Surround the college and peacefully protest by burning all the medical books they have anything to do with gender. Book burnings, they send a very clear message. Yeah, one that can, for once, actually be compared to Nazis. Everybody hates to hear it, but optics are a thing, and this is one of the bad ones. Has a lot to do with how brainwashed people are about Nazis in the first place. Same people that lie to you now are the same people that lied back then. Fuck optics. We do what is right no matter what the media will say. The media can suck it. We will come for them eventually. Jesus. Even those not calling for murder are calling for the mass arrest of all doctors, administrators, and insurance executives involved in gender-affirming care, as well as activists and allies. We also need to arrest every single doctor who has ever performed a sex change surgery, every member of the administration who allowed them to happen, every insurance executive who validated the charges for them, every activist, every one of them without fail, who pushes transgender ideology on anybody, adult or child, and every single person who objects to anybody in those groups being arrested. Like, it's insanity. Like, I have never seen like this amount of unhinged hatred. 4chan users were absolutely giddy when they saw that Tucker Carlson named the Vanderbilt board members because they wanted him to name the Jews. The naming of board members was intentionally done by Tucker Carlson to incite death threats against them to get them to close the clinic. Users on extremist sites are obliging. The use of stochastic terror to close down gender-affirming care clinics is on full display. Yeah, just straight. I mean, we've said it before. We know what's happening. We know it's straight up genocidal rhetoric. We know why they're doing this. Then it's important to note, and this was on the 20th again, Tucker Carlson straight up tells his viewers, it doesn't matter what the law says, you need to do what's right. Literally, he's like inciting people to do illegal acts at this point. It's fucked.
These are sex crimes, and the people committing them should be punished. Now, try and say that out loud anywhere but on Fox News. You can't. Why can't you? Because it's true. That's why. You can't say the true things. You can claim the earth is flat and no one gets exercise. But when you start saying things like all lives matter or sexualizing my children is a crime and if you keep it up I'm going to hurt you because I'm the dad, say that, ooh, you're done. Libs of TikTok is being banned from the internet. Why? Because it showed documentary evidence of what was happening. Some people describe what was happening as grooming. We're not exactly sure what that means, but if it's sexually abusing children, yeah, that is what's happening. But the term groomer is now hate speech, says NBC News.
Fox News is one completed thought away from the Daily Stormer. I mean, yeah, Fox News is basically a fascist news platform that is not self-actualized. I remember a while ago, people were talking about how there was an AI that was being used on social media platforms to identify Islamic extremists in order to deal with Islamic extremism. And people were asking, okay, why does this thing not exist for white nationalists? And the answer ended up being that the AI, if you built an AI in order to do that, it dings Republicans because a lot of the same boxes it ticks to look for white nationalists are the same boxes that Republicans tick. The AI couldn't tell the difference.
A couple of months ago, these people, one is Libs of TikTok, another is Matt Walsh, you have Chris Rufo, who you just mentioned. They've been villainizing and literally demonizing these doctors who treat these people for months now. And so in that time, you can just see it in their mentions. This sicko language, I've seen it a million times over because every time they tweet about these doctors, using these doctors' faces sometimes, and all of the comments are like sickos, demonic, satanic, pedophile, groomer.
Yeah, they're being mean to doctors who castrate children, who cut the breasts off girls. Yeah.
People talking about threats, death threats, bomb threats, intimidation tactics against both patients that are minors and doctors, and Tucker Carlson's just like, oh, they're being mean to you, huh? Oh, it's just like the shit-eating grin on his face.
No one should put up with this. No parent should put up with this for 1 second, no matter what the law says. Your duty, your moral duty, is to defend your children. This is an attack on your children, and you should fight back.
Yeah, it's just like that rhetoric. It's important to note that he's just saying, fuck the law. Do what you need to do. Defend your children. The law has not caught up to what people can do on the internet. If people were able to write laws today and expedite them, I mean, like, people obviously can still write laws. If the internet was around in the founding of the United States, there would absolutely laws against stochastic terrorism. It's very easy to do this. When you're dealing with extremists, the threats are very real. Not cut up. They haven't passed a single law in the U.S. since Bill Clinton signed the Telecommunications Act during his term, which shielded companies from liability. Jesus Christ. It's like way further behind than I even thought. Like, please keep in mind, and please forgive me for being Canadian. Please forgive me. I'm one of the good ones. I'm on your side. Going back to libs of TikTok, again, it's fucking crazy. Tucker Carlson just straight up called for more bomb threats. Like, actually, literally did this.
Claiming it's unsafe for them. That the people who are shocked by what they're doing are actually the criminals here. And that they're getting threatening phone calls. They're going to have to call the DOJ, and anyone who comments on it is going to get a visit from the FBI. But the truth is, people who are horrified by this are not the bad actors. Vanderbilt is the bad actor. Vanderbilt has just admitted on camera to castrating children as young as 13 years old, claiming it's...
Jesus Christ. Literally, he won't even say, don't do fucking bomb threats. He was just saying, nope. The bad actors actually are the people who are getting terrorized at the hospital. Like, there are fucking kids getting terrorized at the hospital. And no. The bad actors, I don't know. You like say that shit to like make the people feel less guilty about the other stuff that they see in the media. But it's pretty obvious, like, again, what he's trying to do, what he's doing here. So following it up, after all the bomb threats, after all the shit that happened with Vanderbilt, after being targeted by LoTT, targeted by Matt Walsh, targeted by Tucker Carlson, the whole fucking brigade, Vanderbilt Medical Center has had to shift medical appointments for its trans clinic to virtual telehealth appointments as a result of threats being made. Matt Walsh is inciting a terror campaign against a hospital and disrupting care. He will get people hurt or killed. This is what happened the last time Matt went after a children's hospital. These threats are real, and they're using terror to disrupt access to care and incite violence. FBI charges Massachusetts woman with Boston Children's Hospital bomb threat. That was the woman who had 200 something donations directly to the Trump campaign. Like, just fucking crazy shit. So after that, Vanderbilt Medical Clinic shuts down its website after the transphobic attacks. A Nashville area hospital has shut down a webpage for its transgender care center after a right-wing commentator and podcaster attacked the clinic for providing gender-affirming care. They're doing this like extrajudicial vigilante shit, and they're keeping people from accessing gender-affirming care. Yeah, this lets them win. This is a win for them. And if you give them a win, they're going to be galvanized. They're going to keep going. They're going to want more wins. Once they have the taste of victory in their mouth, they know what it tastes like. They're going to keep going forward harder. Spillover effects. Yeah, that was all the stuff with the children's hospitals. But outside of the children's hospitals, there's still quite a lot more that's been going on. The ripple effect of this kind of stuff, far greater than just the immediate things that they're talking about. Not only were the hospitals targeted, with the Proud Boys. The Proud Boys crashed a drag queen story hour at a local library. And it's part of this wider movement, right? I remember reading about this earlier this year when this stuff started happening. And this was actually July 21st. So this was a while ago, but this is what this kind of thing encourages, right? Like, you have these huge media figures and by huge, I just mean their reach is massive. For context, my Twitter account has 150,000 50,000 followers, and I reach about 90 million people every month with it. Imagine if I had the Libs of TikTok account and I had 1.5 something million followers. Just for perspective on how many people you can reach with like a big active Twitter account. Have I seen this? What's this? Oh, armed protesters. Yeah. Armed protesters volunteer in Texas to protect a drag event from far-right bigots. This is what we need.
She just spit on me. She just spat on me.
Well, what did you call them earlier when you were talking to them? Didn't you call them a bunch of fucking pussies?
No, I called them pussies.
Yeah, I mean these people here.
No, just the ones that are wielding AR-47s.
So what are you here to do today?
I'm here to support people that don't indoctrinate and groom little 8-year-old kids. Credulous.
So why do you need to get in someone's face?
I wasn't. I was walking over here to talk somewhere. I was walking over here to talk to somebody, and this one, and if you're going, get away, you can.
Who do you need to talk to?
I didn't. I wanted to go talk to somebody. None of your fucking business who I want to talk to.
This is so fucking real. We need more of that. We absolutely need more of that. That was like the first time I have felt any hopium over this situation. Like, geez. Libs of TikTok, they tweeted about a school district that filed a complaint against 3 middle school students, accusing them of sexual harassment for using incorrect pronouns when addressing another student. And I don't even know if this is fucking true, because they change the truth so much. They stretch it so fucking much that you can never tell what actually is going on. Like, it's the LoTT spin, right? See, like, I don't know how much of this is real. Like, the propaganda machine is so fucking intense that I can't even tell. The school board in that Libs of TikTok post, bomb threats, canceled events, empty schools, how a bullying probe in Kiel paralyzed the Wisconsin town's democracy. Like, it's crazy how much this shit impacts the internet, how much damage you can fucking do. So, after instigating attacks on children's hospitals and serving a 1-week suspension for misgendering, a user, Libs of TikTok, is back online, claims she'll sue the service if it suspends her permanently for violating the platform's terms of service. Kaya Rychik, the woman behind Libs of TikTok, has retained James Lawrence of Envisage Law for representation in her possible case against Twitter. The same lawyer/firm that represented Alex Bernerson in his lawsuit against Twitter after he was banned for spreading COVID misinfo. Healthcare providers say Rychik's campaign is having serious effect on children's ability to seek care. Doctors treating LGBT communities have removed their websites and phone numbers for fear of becoming Libs of TikTok's next target. Yeah, imagine suing Twitter. But the reason is because she's scared. Libs of TikTok, I've been following this shit for a little bit. Like, not as much as I would like to be, but Libs of TikTok has no platform outside of Twitter. Like, Twitter is the only place that they have any sway over anything. So if they lose their Twitter, that's it. They're gone. They have no way of continuing with their mission of terrorizing as many trans people as they can and the doctors and community members that support them. Apparently, and I don't know why, but even today, Libs of TikTok got banned for a hate content violation, and Twitter didn't do shit. And it's like, what? What is it? Like, where's the connection? Where is it that keeps Twitter from doing something? It's money. It probably is fucking money. A sitting U.S. senator is helping Libs of TikTok harass a doctor. This kind of incitement puts the target in serious danger of harm. It could even get her killed. Ted Cruz. She does this to children, sterilizes and mutilates them before they are old enough to consent. Bitch! While you were off vacationing, people died, fucking frozen to death in their homes during the fucking cold storm in Texas. Shut the fuck up! Meanwhile, and we talked about this stuff with our platforms, we get age restricted and demonetized. According to YouTube, this 1 hour, 16-minute video where I go over gender critical feminists work with misogynist Tucker Carlson's danger to trans people is worth being age restricted and demonetized. Yeah, a whole lot of my YouTube videos have been getting demonetized too. It's very frustrating, especially because I'm just like on the ground of getting the channel like really off the ground, and it's been a very hard process. So please subscribe, like, hit the bell, ring notification, comment, update, Reddit. I've said this before, I'm sure, but it's worth stating again. None of the people involved in this story are principled. They don't care about children. And in fact, Matt Walsh, he's actually covered up real child abuse. Like, this was his response to Josh Duggar's abuse. And it turns out that's not the only example of Matt running cover for child sexual abusers. The Duggars aren't hypocrites, progressives are. A Christian failing to live up to his faith does not make him a hypocrite. It makes him cowardly, perhaps. It makes him selfish. It makes him flawed. It makes him sinful. In the now deleted thread from 2018, Walsh claimed there is no pedophile scandal in the Catholic Church. He used then available claims from the Cardinal McCarrick case to argue that most victims are adult men. McCarrick's abuse of seminarians is indefensible regardless of whether it qualifies as pedophilia. But even in 2018, McCarrick had been credibly accused of abusing young boys. Like, Jesus, dude. He's actually defending pedophilia. Later, the Vatican released a 400-plus page report detailing McCarrick's underage victims. They were just a fraction of the many worldwide victims of abusive priests harmed in childhood, boys and girls alike. For Matt to dirty delete this thread with no retraction or clarification is amazingly irresponsible. His denial is exactly what actual groomers, not the made-up groomers he claims to oppose via targeting Vanderbilt, need to operate in secrecy. Between the McCarrick and Duggar responses, Matt displays two strategies for downplaying these abuses. One claims that it's just not happening. The other concedes that it may have happened, but immediately equates it to sexual sin like adultery. He's also declaring that raping adult men isn't even a crime. What? The two responses also display ways to shift blame from abusers. McCarrick thread blamed gay men. The Duggar thread blamed women by equating Duggar's victims with women he consensually slept with. Okay, this is fucked. I didn't even notice this. When you hear about mass graves in Canada, just know that those mass graves are called cemeteries and there is nothing nefarious about them. This is one of the most absurd and destructive false narratives the media has ever concocted. I remember when they uncovered the mass graves. Those were not cemeteries. Those were mass graves, several bodies in one grave. A lot of these people were declared missing, and it just turns out that they died at some point or were killed and buried. And they're still trying to figure out the cause of death of all of the different people. The issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women is a huge thing, especially in Canada. And this is going back decades. So this about catches us up with everything that has happened, like the timeline of events. It's outrageous. It's fucked up. It's terrifying even that they could get away with this. But I'm hoping that we can do anything in our power to fight back. And I know that if we could take on kiwi farms, we can do so much more.